Should you sell your property without using a real estate agent? Hi everyone, Gainer here from Property Made Simple, and probably this is another very contradicting video that I'm doing right now because basically I'm a real estate agent and the title is, how you are able to sell your property without using a real estate agent, right? But I think in this video, one of the purpose is probably just want to share with you my opinions, what are the pros and what are the cons, so that you can really weigh carefully before you actually decide to engage a real estate agent, or probably you decide to just do it by yourself, right? But before I actually start, I just want to share with you, why probably there are sellers, home sellers, property sellers who probably wants to do it by themselves, right? So what we always say is DIY, right? So far, I think there are probably two main reasons I can think of. But if you think that there are many more reasons, probably somewhere in the video, there will be a comment section. Just let me know so that at least we know why you are probably feeling that you shouldn't use a real estate agent. Okay, so the two main reasons is one. Probably what I can think of is maybe it's because you have a bad experience before, right? You probably engaged a real estate agent previously for the first time when you decide to sell your property, but at the end it probably turned out really very bad, right? And that is where you lose the confidence of using an agent, to help you to sell your place. And that is why subsequently you decided to try to do it yourself, right? Stuff like that. This is probably one of the reasons. Right. The second reason I think is definitely one of the most obvious reasons is because you probably just want to save the commission, right? And the standard market rate for using a real estate agent to sell the property is probably 2%, right? Of course, I know that there are agents who probably charge lesser, maybe 1%, or some agents that charge more, even up to 3%, right? And that is the reason why you probably just want to save the commission, and you probably think that you can just handle it yourself and just save the money, right? So this is probably one of the two main reasons why, or probably what I can think of, that people, property sellers probably doesn't want to engage a real estate agent to help them to sell their property. And if there are more reasons, probably you can just leave in the comment sections, let us know the reason, right? Maybe I have not thought about it, but I think this is probably the two main reasons that I can think of at the moment, right? So the question is, how are you able to sell, right? So there are actually a lot of medias out there that you can actually post your property if you decide not to use a real estate agent, but it is probably not the mainstream property portals, right? So one of it is probably newspapers. You can advertise it yourself. The other few types is probably, I don't know, Gumtree. Maybe you want to try Gumtree, or probably you can use Carousel, I think, right? And post your property for sale. So these are just some of the categories that media platforms that you can use, right, to sell your property. But you probably will not be able to use the mainstream property portals like Property Guru, right, or probably even 99.co, H Property. These are the mainstream property portals that they only allow real estate agents to use to advertise for the sellers, right? So for advertisements wise, only probably these few groups that you can use to advertise your property, right? And this is the way how you can get exposure, right? Buyers to probably contact you, or probably even some agents will contact you, right? So this is the very first part, whereby this is what we call advertisement, where you want to pull the buyers in, right? Of course, the second process is probably where people will come and start to view your place. This is actually something a little bit easier, right? You can do it yourself, right? But subsequently, what's the more difficult part is whereby it comes to negotiation, right? This is a very critical part whereby, buyers will probably, buyers being buyers, they probably wants to, buy your property at a lower price, right? And probably they know that you're an owner. So there are a few things that probably you will have, right? One of a few outcomes, right? Some buyers will probably just give you a very, very low price. Now, when this really comes by, you probably will be quite turned off as a seller, right? And you probably don't want to engage to talk to the buyer, right? Or second, the buyer probably wants to offer you at the pricing, at the valuation price, which is really very normal, right? And that's where you start your negotiation, right? And probably at the end of the day, this three-part process, it's a very simple process whereby you will eventually know how you can probably sell your property, right? So this is what if you want to really try by yourself, right? The question is, should you, right? Should you actually try to do it yourself? At the end of the day, I can only say that it really depends on you, right? But being a real estate agent, probably I think what is really very important is how a real estate agent is able to value add to you in terms of the process, right? Or probably how they are able to help you to achieve a better price at the end of the day, right? So what are the few key differences, right, without looking into using and without using? What are the key main differences? Like just now, what I actually shared, one of the key main differences is the media portals, right, the mainstream property portals that only real estate agents are able to access, right? And also the second very few important factors that I think real estate agents are really able to value add is in terms of the timeline process, right? The timeline process, the advice in there, the advice on how they are able to help you to achieve a better price in terms of selling, right? Because experienced agents, probably they will be able to know how to talk to the buyers professionally, right? And how they are able to bring in the buyers and let them understand why should they be able to, or why should they pay more for your property, right? Which for this instance, the sellers may not be able to convey such a message to the buyers effectively, because sellers being sellers, buyer being buyer, the communication when it comes to pricing is not easy to communicate, because seller always want a higher price, buyer always want to buy at a lower price. How are they able to come in between? And that's where at times you need to understand the importance of having a middle person to help you to convey this message professionally, so that the buyer will be able to understand why they are paying for. And these are many things that a lot of sellers today may not be able to understand, because sellers, of course, they probably will feel that, hey, you know, it's really very easy for just to sell a property, right? You just have to advertise, you just have to bring in the buyers and eventually negotiate and get the price done and get the deal done. But they probably neglect the in-between or the backstage, whereby there are a lot of things that agents have done, or probably they will be doing that in the naked eyes, probably the sellers may not be able to see, right? And one of the very key main important thing I personally feel is how does the agents able to negotiate and talk to the buyers and probably position your property in such a way that buyers will understand why they are paying this price much more higher, or why they are paying this property at a higher price, you know, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong reason in this video. I just want to share it really very clearly and really in a very unbiased opinion. At the end of the day, you probably can sell by yourself, right? But you have to really look at the pros and the cons, right? With or without using an agent, right? And at the end of the day, understand how the agent is able to present to you, share with you in terms of the value that how he or she is able to value add to you in terms of selling, right? And at the end of the day, there are really more things that I personally feel that an agent can value add much more to a seller, right? But this is just my opinion. At the end of the day, the decision is yours, right? And probably I think if you feel that, you know, or probably you think what I shared is right or wrong, you know, stuff like that, just feel free, comment this video, you know, just share with us your comments so that I can also understand, we can also understand, and probably from then, you know, we can really feel and know how we can value add to clients as well in the possible, right? So with that, probably I end this video. Hope this video really benefits you, and you know, see you real soon. Bye.